Hi everyone. I'm so glad to see you all watching today because you'd like to know more about the Feldenkrais method and its usefulness for seniors. And the title of this talk is the Feldenkrais Method of Movement for Seniors. You can teach an old dog new tricks. So I'm Madeline Edgar, a retired physiotherapist and Feldenkrais practitioner, and I discovered the Feldenkrais method when I was 53, and it totally changed my life. I was heading down the road of having a dowager's hump. Didn't like that at all. And nothing I did as a physio helped that. So when I attended my first awareness through movement class in 1983, I was absolutely stunned at the way I felt after standing up doing these strange movements on the floor. So when I stood up, I felt so tall and balanced, and I now realize I was feeling the support of my skeleton for the first time in many, many years. At the time, I didn't know what it was, but I just felt so tall and balanced and upright, and I just wanted to feel that length and the support of the skeleton for the rest of my life. So I read some of Moshe Feldenkrais's books and realized that his method was a missing link in my education. So I've used the method for 30 years for my own benefit and for that of my clients ever since. And you can read more about it online, as there are many practitioners around the world now. There weren't when I first discovered it. So to understand where the Feldenkrais method fits in, I like this image of a knitted jumper. And you know how when you pull a thread in a jumper, it pulls the whole jumper out of alignment. So when you fell out of your cot and hurt your neck as a baby, that's one thread. And then later you tripped and hurt your right knee, that's another thread. And in your teens or later on you dislocated a shoulder, etc. The injury heals, but the brain is still subtly protecting you. And each trauma or injury pulls you a little bit more out of alignment. But it's below your consciousness, so you can't change it. And any exercise that you do when you're out of alignment simply strengthens those faulty movement patterns. So the Feldenkrais method offers a gentle, safe way to change your movements physically, and then your brain can release those old patterns or habits. When you're well aligned, you can do what you want without injuring yourself. So the Feldenkrais method first, then you can exercise safely in other ways. And the bonus is that all your daily activities are easier and more efficient. And chronic pain is also eased as you release permanently contracted muscles. And if you fall well. And I've experienced that myself a few times. So I'm going to lead you through a lesson in sitting to begin unraveling yourself. So you need a kitchen chair, which I hope you got before, and preferably one without arms, but if you absolutely need to have arms there, that's okay. So when you use the Feldenkrais method, please do not push into pain. Use very small, slow, gentle movements. And remember that you need to stay in your own comfort zone. If you push into pain, then you just set up those movement patterns in your brain and tense you up again. So please remember that you're re-educating your brain through your body. It's very difficult to change habits consciously, but in the subconscious it can happen quite quickly. So please start in standing and just pay attention to how you stand. Not something we often do, we just stand. So scan yourself and notice where the weight is on your feet. More to the front, back, insides, outsides. And notice how you feel in standing, tall or short, heavy or light, balanced or unbalanced. Just take a little time to notice what you sense about yourself in standing consciously. So without moving your feet, just turn and look around yourself to the right and notice how far you can see without straining. Notice out the right corner of your right eye, make a little mark on the wall behind you, and then come back to the middle. And do that a few times, just turning to the right and back. Feel how much of yourself is involved. And then come back to the middle and do the same thing, turning to your left. And notice when you turn to the left, how far you can see out the corner of your left eye. Make a little mark on the wall behind you. And notice, is it easier to turn to the left? Do that a few times. And then come back and turn to the right again, and just notice which side is easier for you to turn to. And we all have one side that's easier. So now come and sit on your chair. And as you sit in your chair, scan yourself again and notice, do you have more weight on one buttock than the other? Is your head in front of your shoulders or behind, or tilted or turned to one side or the other? What do you notice about your position in sitting? Do you tend to slump a little bit, or are you fairly upright? There's no wrong answer. Just noticing what you're doing is important, because if you don't notice what you're doing, you can't change it. So now come to sit forward in your chair. Walk forward on your buttocks until you're sitting at the front of your chair. Have your feet about the width of your hips apart and your feet directly below your knees. And simply turn to your right in sitting and notice how far you can see to the right, out the corner of your right eye. Do that a few times. How does it feel turning when you're not moving your pelvis? And then turn a few times to the left. Notice how that feels in comparison. Is it easier to turn in sitting or harder? What do you notice about yourself? Paying attention to yourself. So now bring your right arm up in front of your face, directly in front of your face, and look at your hand. And with your eyes and your head looking at your hand, turn everything to the right together, just as far as you can go comfortably. And then come back to the middle a few times. So everything together, the hand, the eyes, the head, all to the right and back to the middle. Pay attention, notice what you're doing as you sit there, how you shift your weight, how much of yourself is involved in the movement. And come back to the middle. And now bring your right hand up again. If you have a sore shoulder, you can do this without lifting your hand. Just turn your head and shoulder together. But you'll probably feel more effective if you look at your hand and turn. So turn everything to the right together, the head, the eyes, the hand, and then leaving the hand and arm there, turn the head to the left a few times. And then come back to the middle with the head, the eyes and the arm. Then take the arm right and the head left. And do that movement a few times with the head going opposite to the arm, but notice, do you hold your breath or grit your teeth? What do you do when you're concentrating, focusing? Good. Come back to the middle. And bring your arm down, rest for a moment. Now bring your hand up again, look at your hand, turn everything to the right together. Turn your head to the left, but let your eyes go to the right. And then bring everything back to the middle. So you're taking your arm right, your head left, and your eyes are following your hand to the right. And you may get quite confused doing this, and if you do, that's a good sign. Confusion means you're learning something new. That was a great relief to me, because I thought confusion was a bad thing, but it isn't. So have a good laugh. Okay, and do that a few times, still taking the arm right, the head left, the eyes right, and then bring them all together to the middle again, a few times. Then come back to the middle with everything, and now simply turn everything together, the arm, the hand, the eyes, the head, to the right, and notice if you can see a little further now. Maybe, maybe not. So we do get stuck in those old habits from the old injuries and faulty learning. So sit back for a moment, rest again, and notice even when you sit back and rest now, are you sitting in your chair slightly differently? We all do tend to find our lounge chair and slump into it in our favourite position and stay there. And of course, do you cross your legs over? Which leg flies over the other first? Okay, habit. So it's better not to cross your legs for many, many reasons, which I'm sure you're aware of. Be conscious of sitting with your legs comfortably apart and sitting fairly evenly on each buttock. And once more, bring your hand up in front of your face, look at your hand with your eyes, and turn again everything to the right. And as you do that, could you let your left thigh slide forwards towards the wall in front of you? and come back a few times, everything together, everything to the right, but the left thigh slides forward towards the wall in front of you. And back, and a couple more times. And let the right thigh slide backwards a little bit. So what happens to the quality of your turning when you bring your legs and pelvis into it? Oh, isn't that interesting? So notice the difference if you involve a little bit more of yourself. And you can repeat these movements to your left side later, otherwise we're going to make it a fairly long video and we don't want to do that. So play around, and you don't have to get the movements right. It's just exploring the fact that everything goes together. Habit, we do it. But when you break up the habit a little bit and do opposite movements or alternative movements, then you give your brain the opportunity to feel that you're not stuck in habits. You can actually do more than you think you can. Okay, so play around with that, and because you could probably see a little further as you turn now, you didn't try harder and you didn't strengthen anything or stretch anything. You just learnt a different way to move and used more of yourself. So could you relate these movements to something that you do in everyday life? All our lessons are built around how you function in daily life, and the ability to turn easily prevents falling. So it's very useful that you can actually walk and turn without being destabilized. You can practice that, play with it. Okay, what about backing your car when you're driving? Most people turn like this, straining the neck. But if you bring your head and shoulders in, and your ribs and your pelvis and your thighs, then suddenly it's easier to see when you're backing the car. Very practical, Feldenkrais method is. Okay, now to come to standing, come forward in your chair and lean forward from your hip joints until your head is in front of your knees. And gently put your head down and lift your bottom off the chair and unfold yourself up into standing. You will probably need to play with this. There are many Feldenkrais videos online to show you how to do it easily. The secret is getting your head in front of your knees. And don't think about standing, think about lifting your bottom. Changes it totally. And I've been able to get people get themselves out of chairs so easily doing this, they can't believe they ever did it any other way. Okay. So now come to stand. When you're in standing, notice how you feel in standing now. Does anything feel different? Maybe the weight on your feet's changed a little bit. Maybe you feel taller. Maybe you feel shorter. Maybe you feel heavier or lighter or more balanced. For every one of you, the experience will be different because each of us has a different structure and different habits. So there isn't any right or wrong way to feel. Okay, and then turn to your right a few times now and notice how far you can see. Come back to the middle and turn to your left a few times. Come back and notice, do you find any difference now turning in standing? So Feldenkrais practitioners work in every position that we can use in life so that learning is clarified in all the dimensions of your daily life. And functional integration is the one-on-one version, which we use to work directly with someone with particular problems. And awareness through movement classes are the pleasant way to continue the learning in your own way. And I must say, for me, it was wonderful. I didn't have to get it right. I could explore and play and discover in my own way. And it was just such a relief because we're always taught we have to get it right, don't we? So I do hope you've learned a little bit more about yourself today and that you'll explore the Feldenkrais method through the Australian Feldenkrais Guild, which is contactable at www.feldenkrais.org.au. And I really look forward to the fact that you'll follow this up and really find out more about this wonderful method that can make your life so much easier. So goodbye and happy Seniors Week.